Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Sabanson and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. So today we got an excellent show for you guys, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. So let's get into this. We have another person at ESPN calling out Stephen A. Smith once again. Now, what happened? They were discussing the Golden State Warriors and the Lakers and all that. And by the way, the Golden State Warriors have been on a tear. I believe they won 5 games in a row. They're right now, I think, last time I checked, because they beat the Denver Nuggets yesterday. And the Denver Nuggets are not looking like a serious contender at all. I mean, they've lost 3 in a row. They don't look serious at all. Golden State, I believe, have won 5 games in a row. Let me just confirm. 5 games in a row. They're 7 out of their last 10. They're now the 5th seed in the Western Conference. And they have an opportunity to catch the 4th seed in the Denver Nuggets because they're tied in losses. I don't know their season series record. So the Golden State Warriors have been playing fantastic basketball. Shout out to Stephen Curry, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler and the rest of those guys over there. So you got that going on. So Stephen A. Smith was discussing the Golden State Warriors. And then the conversation shifted towards him talking about Stephen Curry and how he's been this kind of force in the NBA. I think last night Steph may have had, was it 40? I don't remember the score, but he had a lot of points last night. Actually, I think I can verify that. I don't remember the box score. I just remember them winning. Let me see. I think I can verify how many points Steph scored last night. Stephen Curry had 36 points. Okay, he had 36 points. So anyway, he was talking about Stephen Curry and all of that. And then he got to the point where he was saying that former NBA players believe that Stephen Curry would be averaging like 17 had he played in a more physical era, right? And he went on this kind of long monologue about it. I think Chris Mad Dog Russo was there. Well, apparently these comments were heard by Jay Williams, who's also a member of ESPN, and Jay Williams decided to take to Twitter, or X, to call out Stephen A. Smith for constantly refusing to cite his sources on ESPN First Take. But before we even get into what Jay Williams had to say, let's take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say first on ESPN First Take. Take a listen to Stephen A. Smith here talking about Stephen Curry.
I had a Hall of Famer come up to me and said to me, quote, Steph Curry would not have averaged more than 17 points a game. And now obviously, I think that person should have been drug tested when he said that to me. But then I quieted down because he wasn't talking about his skill set. He said, in our era, we would have hurt him. He said, we would have hurt him. He said he would have had to run through picks. He wouldn't have been as protected by the officials. The game is exponentially more physical now than it was then. Remember when he came into the league with the ankle injury? He'd have never recovered from that with us. We'd have made sure they would have tripped him every chance we got. They wasn't talking about basketball. They were talking about this is the elements that come with the game that we had to endure that these guys don't have to even think about. Now, of course, from a talent perspective, the talent is clearly superior now to what it once was. Evolution kicks in. You learn from the predecessors, you take it to another level. There's no surprise there. But the problem is when they were playing, they were judged so harshly. And all of those things were taken into consideration that they look at it now. Rule changes, no hand checking, and all the absence of physicality that exists now compared to what once was. The road traveled was far less arduous than it is now in their eyes. And they're saying, if these brothers had to go through what we went through, and so when they're hearing these players talk, they expect to hear that level of appreciation. And when these guys don't sit up there and say, damn, I'll put it this way, close it by saying this. If today's players came out, and I'm not saying they should, I'm just talking about them compared to the old players. If today's players came out and said, man, I'm glad I wasn't playing during y'all era. Hell, I'd have got mugged. They'd have beat the hell out of me. If they said something like that, that ends the whole thing. That ends everything. It ends the whole thing. I'm sorry. Whoopsie. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Here. But I'm saying to you, they would have been like this.
Some tissues.
Today's players, if today's players did that, the guys would go like this. All those old school guys would stand down.
I just feel like we spend so much time, are you good? We spend so much time praising the past generation that we don't focus enough on the current generation. And I think it's hurting the NBA and the conversation. We don't do this in any other sport.
In fairness.
Wait, let me just finish. We don't do this in any other sport besides the NBA, and we do it on this show.
That's not true.
Constantly.
That's not true.
Yes, we do. We celebrate the past
No,
and
I'm
not
talking
today.
about what you said about not other sports. That's not true. I don't care what sport we're talking about. We always compare errors. We always do it, no matter what sport it is. The NBA feels that way, what you just said. The players feel that way. That's what you just said. I understand that part. But the flip side to it is this. If a standard of greatness has been established and somebody's comparing you to that greatness, we're saying you're great.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. Now, let's read what Jay Williams had to say on his Twitter yesterday. He said, Stephen A., you're too smart to keep pushing barbershop hearsay like it's fact. A Hall of Famer told me Steph wouldn't average more than 17. Come on. Name names or don't bring it up to the table. Stephen Curry broke basketball. He didn't just adapt to this era. He created it. So let's stop using anonymous ghosts of the past to discredit the present. This post was published a day or so ago, and it has, I think this is the Stephen, 1.8 million views. So what are my thoughts to this? First of all, when I saw Jay Williams go out there and say that, the first thought that came to me was, usually if somebody that creates content that I know and says something that I disagree with, usually I'll just message the person and be like, yo, you bugging. You bugging. Before I now kind of make a public statement. Although sometimes I've done that. In the case of Jay Williams and Stephen A. Smith, they know each other. You know how Stephen A. Smith can like to respond back and forth on his show to people and all of that. I was a little bit curious why Jay Williams didn't text Stephen A. Smith what he wrote there. Now, I don't know if he didn't text him or not, right? I don't know that, but I was curious why he didn't just message him personally and write this message to him. Which then led to the next thought, which was this could also be a formula that ESPN uses to create drama and create ratings. Why? Jay Williams has a disagreement with the face of ESPN. Instead of messaging him directly, he posted on Twitter. Stephen A. Smith then sees it, then either invites Jay Williams to come on the show and argue about it, which creates ratings, or go on his own show, the Stephen A. Smith show, and argue about it, which creates ratings for his own show. Just something that occurred to me like, okay, there could be a game within a game, right? Thought about that. Now, let's get to what Jay Williams had to say in terms of Stephen A. Smith's refusal to cite his sources. Stephen A. Smith has made it clear. If he cites his sources, he will no longer have sources. He's also pointed out the fact that in politics, you don't have people saying that journalists list their sources. So why do they do it in the NBA? I think the reason that they do it in the NBA is because it's a lot less formal than politics, right? A lot less formal. So they feel like, look, those rules shouldn't apply here. Number one. Number two, I think that there's just kind of this comfort that people have, like, yo, just say who it is, right? And Stephen A. Smith has always said, and to be fair, people like Shannon Sharp and others have defended him. If you list your sources, you're never going to have any more sources. You'll never have the sources. Now, from the standpoint of Jay Williams, he's like, well, just, say who these people are. If you're not going to say who they are, don't bring it up. All right? If you're not going to say who they are, don't bring it up. Now, I want to get to another point about Stephen A. Smith, which is kind of ties into this, but it's also not related. There are times in the past, like for instance, when he was responding to LeBron during that drama that they had, he was like, I could say this, I could say that. And it's like, bro, just say it then. Just say it. You've already said this. Just say it all so we can already know, because it's like you're creating this you create like this interest and then you don't fulfill it. It's like, then why'd you bring it up in the first place, right? So that thing is annoying. That particular thing is annoying, and I understand that. But in terms of Stephen A. Smith not citing his sources, I don't think he ever will. Now, the interesting thing, though, however, he does cite some of his sources. He's quoted Michael Jordan. He's quoted Magic Johnson. He does it occasionally. And then on other occasions, he chooses not to do so. Why does he choose to reveal certain sources and not reveal other sources? I don't know. I've seen him reveal Michael Jordan's text on live TV on ESPN First Take. I've seen him do that. I've seen him say some things that Magic Johnson has said. I've seen him allude to certain things that Kobe Bryant had called him up and said. But then in other cases, he chooses not to do so. Why does he do that? I don't know. I don't know Stephen A. Smith, so I have no idea why he decided to do that. But I can understand Jay Williams' frustration. But I also believe that these guys are playing the game to get ratings. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comments, and we catch you on the next show. Peace.